Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Good afternoon. It is 6 o'clock and welcome to the Locker Room live for our Sunday edition. We are here till 5 o'clock. Well, I say we at the moment, it's just me, as you can probably tell. We are live on Independence Live and Live Radio. We are really looking back at the second semi-final of the Scottish Cup this afternoon between Celtic and Rangers. We are main focus and open shortly to be joined by Scott Mick after the game is finished, obviously. At the moment at Hampden Park, we've played 68 minutes and it's currently still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. The only goal so far coming from Jota just before half-time. Been a very open game so far. Both teams haven't shot them. Celtic at the moment have that advantage. We will discuss this further as the game goes on. And obviously, I will keep you in touch with everything that's happening. Still 20 minutes to go at the moment. Celtic, really at the moment, Rangers had a chance a minute ago. A shot from Tavernier hit the post. But at the moment, Celtic defending quite well without really causing much threat at their end. There was a chance earlier on from Kyogo that was saved by McGregor. But it has been a very open semi-final, I've got to say. Very, very decent game. Rangers have put a lot into the game. We'll talk to Scott about this when he comes on. But for me, Ryan Kent and Morelos have been very disappointing. Ryan Kent was substituted at half-time, but he could have easily taken off Morelos, who has offered very, very little. But at the moment, it is still 1-0 to Celtic. And as I say, we will get to that very shortly when Scott comes on, and I'll keep up to date with the score as well. Who says men can't multitask? I'm watching the game and doing the show live. Who says men can't multitask? Genius. But before we get back to the game as well, Rangers on the attack here, shot just wide. But before we do get to the rest of the games as well, I just want to give you some of the scores from the SWPL this afternoon. Aberdeen 0, Motherwell 2, Partick Thistle 0, Glasgow City Women 2, and currently at half-time it's Celtic 2, Hibernian 0. There are games at 4 o'clock between Glasgow Women and Spartans and between Hamilton and Dundee United. And there's also a game at 10 past between Rangers and Hearts. But again, I'll keep up to date with all those as those games are unfolding. But before I obviously go back to the Celtic Rangers game, and I'm still watching this as well, it's still 1-0 with about 20 minutes to go. But I just want to touch on the Scottish Championship because I've said for weeks this is probably for me the best league in Scotland. It is so competitive. Every game means something. And on Friday next week, it goes down to the wire. We are going to have massive, massive games Friday. Now, all the focus, of course, will be the big clouds just over the bar. Really good cross from the left-hand side. Tavernier arrives at the back post, heads it down, but heads it over. Probably could do better, to be honest. It's a really good delivery into the box. I think he's got to do better there. Heads it down and over the bar. I think he's good to do better there. Still 1-0 to Celtic, but Rangers are attacking reasonably well. They've a bit more of a threat since the Cala came on. Morelos, again, offering very little. But it is still very, very tense. It is very, very tight. We have just over 19 minutes to go. Still 1-0 to Celtic. But the Championship is so exciting. Now, on Friday, just past there, Dundee had the chance to go 4 points clear when they took on Cove at Dens Park. They couldn't do that. Now, I said on Friday's show, I thought Dundee would win that comfortably. Well, the why? Because they didn't. It was a 0-0 draw. Surprisingly, Dundee got booed off the pitch, which I thought was a bit harsh from their fans because they are still in a title race going to the last game of the season. It was harsh, but there you go. Fantastic point for Cove. But what it meant was that Queen's Park knew that if they could beat Morton yesterday, they would go top. Then with the game to go, a point would win them the league, but they couldn't do it. They went to Capitol yesterday. They were 1-0 up Queen's Park, but they couldn't hold on and they got beat 2-1. The rest of the games, Dundee 0, Cove 0, Morton 2, Queen's Park 1-0, Park, which means that next Friday, every game is 7:45. That's fantastic because you've got Arbroath against Hamilton. And again, if you look at the bottom of the Championship, Wraith have nothing to play for. They're on 42 points. But at the bottom of the Championship, you've got Hamilton on 30 points, Cove on 31, and Arbroath on 33. So these games are so important. Arbroath play Hamilton. Now, Arbroath know if they win that, they'll stay up. Hamilton have to win. They have to win that game. Very, very difficult, I have to say. We'll be on next Friday, obviously, to talk about these games. But it's just so exciting. Cove against Morton. Again, massive game for Cove. They have to win that. Morton still have a chance of getting in the playoffs. They at the moment sit on 54 points. Inverness above them on 55 and Ayr on 55 as well. Partick in third and 56. So it is so tight in that league. Inverness against Ayr. Inverness now on the back of getting to the Scottish Cup final after a 3-0 victory over Falkirk yesterday. Probably a deserved victory in the end, but I did say yesterday when we did the show live that I thought Falkirk very probably, but they couldn't score. But Inverness are now in the final of the Scottish Cup, and they know that they've got a potential playoff place to play for. So another massive game. Racing as Partick, as I say, the only side with nothing to play for is Racers. They're on holiday, they can go to the beach. Partick Thistle know that they probably need to be winning that game next week, and then they'll be in the playoff. But it is just so tight. And then obviously the massive game next week. Queen's Park against Dundee at Oakville View. It's going to be a sellout. It's going to be a fantastic game. And Queen's Park know that they have to win this game. Now, they've kind of tailed off a little bit recently. They're not winning a lot of games just now. But let me just have a drink. But they know now they have to win this game. It's going to be a massive occasion at Oakville View. Queen's Park win, then they win the title and they come up. Another goal scored in the SWPL. It's now Celtic 3, Hibernian 0 in the SWPL. So it looks like game over there. Celtic look like they're going to win that game comfortably. But it is just so important, that game next week. Dundee know that they can afford a draw and they win the title. So it's just going to be next Friday. Absolutely mad. It's something I think is great for Scotland, Scottish football. You know, we're going to get to see the Scottish Championship really highlighted properly next week. I'd imagine that they won't be able to have a split screen and show quite a few of the games. Celtic attack here, cross from Maeda, out the pitch. Elba on Bemi score currently. We are 74 on the clock. It is still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. The goal coming after, I've got my notes here, 42 minutes from Jota. Now, when Scott comes on, we'll talk about this, but for me, it's terrible defending from Rangers. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because they think it's a free kick, but it's not on the edge of the box. Celtic play on, Rangers stop. 4 Rangers players just stop playing. Now, you're taught as a youngster, you don't stop, you play to the whistle. Rangers didn't do that. The ball's played to the back post. And again, something I'll talk to with Scott when he comes on as well. I think James Tavernier going forward is a very good player. No debate in that at all. But as a defender, I think he's very poor. I genuinely have said this for years. Tavernier is a very poor defender. He doesn't have a clue where Jota is at the back post. And Jota's a good header. I mean, he can't really miss, but it's poor defending for me from Rangers' point of view. They just stop. But yeah, Celtic 1 goal up. And they've maybe not been at their best today, Celtic. They've not really created a lot of chances. McGregor's not had a lot of saves to make. But all the matches winning the game. And at the moment, they are doing that. There is now 75 minutes on the clock. Still 1-0. Corner to Rangers. Cleared away again. It's been played at a really fast tempo, I've got to be honest. It's been really fast tempo. It's been a decent game, actually. It's been a really decent game. But, you know, Rangers at the moment trying to do anything to get level. But again, I really don't think this is a new. I think Morelos has been terrible. It's off nothing. Defending their part of again across the box. 6 minutes, 9 o'clock. Rangers 0, Celtic 1. So tight, so tense. I mean, the atmosphere, you can hear it. Even in my head, it's quite electric. Celtic trying to build a team. There's been a lot of substitutions, as you'd expect. Celtic coming forward just now. Decent break. Haksabanovic, good ball in. Defended well by Rangers. Corner to Celtic, but it really has been played at such a fast pace. Now, the reason that Michael isn't doing the show today is because he's at the game. So I hope he's enjoying it. He's left me to kind of deputise, which is fine because I'm more than capable. Although I'm still gutting my team's not in the semi-final. But yeah, go back to the championship for a minute. It genuinely is going to be fantastic next week. I cannot wait. You're going to have all the games on it, probably split screen. But the main focus will be on Queens against Dundee. You know, there's no doubt about that. It's a massive game for the title. I've said already for weeks that I really want Queen's Park to come up. And I said again weeks ago that I've heard a few pundits saying that it would be embarrassing if Queen's Park come up. I don't agree. If you come up for the championship, you deserve it. And it is, you know, Queen's Park is an institution. It would be great if they can come up. I think there's every chance. And even if they don't come up through automatic promotion, there's a very good chance to come up through the playoffs because I think they would fancy themselves against any other team in the playoff place, whether it's Ayr, Partick, Morton. And I think they would fancy it again against one of the teams in the Premier League, because I've said for weeks, I don't think between the top of the Championship, the Premier League. Chance for Celtic, they are just over from Maeda. Really good ball at the box there. Good defending from Rangers, to be fair. Maeda has a difficult attempt there. I think it's gone behind for a corner, I think. Really good ball over the top. Maeda's done that all day. He's got the pace to get behind, and he's done that all day. Really play good ball at the box. Poor defending there from Goldson. But Maeda does well there. Still 1-0, but it's getting to that stage now. We've got 12 minutes to go. It's getting to that late stage in the game now where you can feel that next goal is going to be crucial. There's another goal. If Celtic get it, you've got a game over and probably trip in the bag, because I think, let's be honest, they're going to beat Inverness in the final. No disrespect to Inverness, and I know Inverness are cups. Others than that'll happen. If Rangers can get it in force extra time, then it could be huge. But this is a massive, massive last 11 minutes. Rangers 0, Celtic 1 for anyone just joining us. It's a massive 11 minutes to go now. Really, really big moments in the game now. Rangers, they've kind of huffed and puffed a few decent chances, as I say. There was a shot off the post of 64 Tavernier. I personally think Carlos got a score from the rebound, but it hits the side net. But it has been played at 100 mile an hour. Very, very good game of football, I've got to be honest. And it is swinging a little bit here. Rangers on the attack now, try to do everything to get this leveler, but Celtic just look very strong defensively. Got to say as well, I think Maeda's been excellent for Celtic. He's been all over the pitch. Kyogo's been very quiet. He had a chance earlier on in the second half that was saving McGregor low down, but he's not really been able to get in the game. I think Rangers defended Kyogo very well, but I think Maeda's been excellent on the left-hand side, and him and Jota have switched a few times as well to try and cause problems. I think if I was a Celtic, if I was Postecoglou though, I'd be telling either Maeda or Jota to really get at Barisic. Such a good ball in there, decent chance there, because Barisic was booked in the first half, and he probably, and again when Scott comes on, I'll speak to him about this as well, maybe fortunate not to get booked for a second yellow for diving in the first half. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but it maybe looked like he might have dived, but he maybe wasn't claiming for it, so that probably saved him there. But yeah, we are very, very late in the game now. We are now in 80 minutes. Still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Very, very tight this. I mean, it is. You can sense the frustration from the Celtic fans in the crowd. They're looking for this next goal, but Rangers again on the attack here. Decent chance here. Sakala is at the edge of the box, takes a shot, block. Still done that all game. Celtic have really done very well defensively, blocked a lot of decent shots. A lot of decent hits. Matondo on the good defending there again. Really good defender from Celtic. Defended well this game. Everything Rangers have chucked at them, Celtic have defended very, very well. Trying to come back here, but Alan McGregor again. Kyogo putting pressure on, but yeah, decent play from Rangers there. Now to go, and it is still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. It is looking very much like Inverness against Celtic in the Scottish Cup final on the 3rd of June, but there is still a goal just now. Good defending again from Carter Vickers, who's been excellent. Very, very strong defensively, Carter Vickers. Chance on the break here for Celtic. If they play this right, they are through. Oh, it's a poor pass and really poor ball there. There was no need for Haksabanovic to play that kind of ball there. If he plays a better pass, Maeda's got a chance there, but it's poor. And a book in there as well, I think, for Todd Cantwell for a late challenge. But yeah, we are now getting to the very end of this game. Yeah, it's a definite book in there for a foul on Haksabanovic from Cantwell, who was late. It was a bit rash, but nothing more than a yellow card. Good referee in there from Don Robertson. Can't just say referee. But yeah, Don Robertson, who wasn't the referee initially, it was meant to be Willie Collin, but Willie Collin picked up a calf injury. So Don Robertson replaced him, and John Beaton had to come in as fourth official. But to be fair, I think Don Robertson's handled the game quite well. There's been no real major issues, no major V issues. Although, let's be honest, there is still 8 minutes to go. That could change. But at the moment, it's been a decent spirit. There has been a few harsh challenges, but you're going to expect that. But it has been an hour. Rangers making a change to try and get back in this game. Hadji's coming on for Rangers. and he's going to be replacing Alfredo Morelos, who has been, I'm going to be honest, he has been absolutely terrible. He has offered no threat at all to Carter Vickers and Starfelt. A very comfortable 8 minutes for both of them. There was kind of one moment in the second half where Morelos could have taken a chance, but good defense of Carter Vickers. But I think the flag up for all anyway. But Morelos has actually done well for minutes because he's been dreadful in this game. Carlos a bit more lively. Matondo's tried to get in the game. Chance here for Rangers, and just over the bar from Scott Arfield, who looked dangerous when he's come on for Rangers. Celtic now making a change after 83 minutes. Is going to come on. Really good play from Matondo. Good ball back and a decent attempt there, but it's wide. So it's going to come on for Celtic, and he's going to be replacing Kyogo, who, as I say, really had a massive effect on the game. He's been very well stifled by Goldson. And Davis, I've got to be honest, very quiet for Kyogo. You're expecting him to burst in, but it just hasn't happened. But now, for the last 7 minutes, Celtic have got a bigger weapon now in who is very physical. Bit of pace about him as well, so he'll cause that Rangers defence problems as Celtic try to wrap up this game. But I do think Rangers have played well. Defence, they've played well. Midfield, they've done okay, but it's that forward area they've just not done enough. They've not caused enough problems to that Celtic defence. And at the moment, Celtic are looking like they are going to go for the treble. As I said, this was the game that was going to win it for me because they will beat Inverness in the final. So Celtic will be looking for the historic 8th treble. At the moment, there is still now 6 minutes to go. I feel like a timekeeper. There is 6 minutes to go. It is still 1-0 to Celtic. That goal from Jota in 42 minutes. Rangers trying everything to get back in this game, but they just haven't had enough going forward. Decent play there from Hadji, decent ball in, but again, well defended by Celtic. I've said that a lot. Celtic are defending very, very well. And I genuinely think Maeda has been outstanding today. Not just going forward, but defensively as well. He's tracked back. He's won a few tackles. He's been a constant nuisance to that Rangers defence. So I don't know who's going to get man of the match, but I think Maeda has worked very well. Kind of felt sorry a bit for, I don't know if anyone watched the show, but we had Harty from the Celtic way on. And I spoke to him about Johnson, who I think has been excellent. But he got taken off early today. He got taken off for 50 minutes following a challenge with Barisic. Johnson, again, was excellent today. Defended very, very well. He's good going forward as well. Shame for him he got taken off. But, yeah, I mean, Celtic just look... There's a lot of tired legs in that pitch just now. We know Hampden's a massive, massive pitch. There's a lot of tired players in the pitch. Put a lot into this game. I do actually think that Todd Cantwell's played quite well for Rangers. He's looked the most likely to do anything. Rangers again coming forward. Good defending again. Really strong defender for Carter Vickers. Do you know what I think? If it's not going to be Maeda man of the match, it might be Carter Vickers. He's been standing at the back for Celtic. He's wanting a team as a defender. He just defends. I know that sounds daft, but he just does the job you want him to do. Very good beat aerial battle. Very good beat on the ground as well. He's quick. He's physical. He's imposing. He's been excellent today. Having said that, he's not been up against very much because I've just mentioned the fact that Morelos has offered absolutely no threat, but you've still got to defend it. Good ball over the top there from Celtic. McGregor comes out. We are now 86 minutes on the clock. It is still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. That goal, as I said, coming from trying to get the ball back in there. Very, very tight in the corner there. Really good play again from Maeda. Honestly, he's been outstanding today. He really has. Really, really good play from Maeda. We are now 87 minutes on the clock. I'd imagine there'll probably be about 7 minutes because there's not been a lot in the set. Actually, maybe I'll probably say maybe 4 or 5 minutes stoppage time at the end. Obviously, the board's not been up yet, but Celtic, that'll be a foul there for a challenge by Callum McGregor, I would imagine. Yep. Callum McGregor, the Celtic captain, been booked for a cynical challenge with Hadji, I would say. As Hadji tried to break away. Rangers, again, still trying to get the ball in the box, but Celtic defending very, very well. They really have defended superbly all through this game. Hatate for me has been quite quiet for Celtic. Really good play from Haksabanovic. Taking the ball at the corner flag. Really good defender from Marfield, who has actually played well since he came on for Rangers. He's offered more than Morelos does, but that wouldn't be hard. But yeah, still very, very late in the game now. Celtic defending very well. Really good play there from Callum McGregor, but gives the ball away. Unlike him, Rangers coming forward here. They've got to really throw everything at this now because they are a goal down. They know that if Celtic win this game, they will win the treble. Celtic. Rangers trying get the ball out wide there to James Tavernier. Bonnet the box. It's gone all the way to that post. Yilmaz with a cross in. Celtic again, very, very strong defensively. Actually, Celtic have defended so well. Niall Finnegan says, more the hoops. Well, at the moment, it is looking very much likely that Celtic are going to be on course for that 8th treble. It's a good ball in the box again, but again, Celtic defend, and it's Carter Vickers again. Honestly, great defending from Carter Vickers at the back post. He honestly has, I think he probably is man of the match. He's been outstanding. 89 minutes on the clock now. So if you're a Celtic fan, listen to this, or watching me. I'm watching the game. Very nervous right now because it is getting to that stage now where good play there, and it's over the bar from Yilmaz. I don't think he needs to shoot from there. You've got to get the ball in the box there. That's poor from me. Really poor decision from Yilmaz to take a shot on there. You've got Boris in the box. Just get it in the box. He was never going to beat Joe Hart from there. Really poor decision making like that from Yilmaz. But we are now entering the 90th minute. Just waiting for the board to go up for what will be stoppage time. I reckon probably 4 minutes, I think it will be. Celtic, I wouldn't say holding on, but, and again, this has got to be a real kick in the teeth for Michael Beale because the way they conceded the goal is dreadful. You know, if they lose this game by 1 goal, that will come back to bite them because it's so poor, the defender from Rangers for that goal, which I'll talk to Scott about when they try to hold on the line. So the board should be going up now, and it is 5 minutes of added on time. So there is 5 minutes to get a goal and stop Celtic potentially winning the treble. That's a really, I don't know why he's played the ball across the goal there. Rangers, again, need to take the ball forward, but at the moment, it's very slow. They've played a long ball forward. Carter Vickers again, absolutely outstanding. He really has been a colossus today. Aaron Moy, who looks a bit like Maeda, I'm not going to lie. He gets the ball forward. Celtic now can basically just play keep off for the next 5 minutes. They can get the ball in the corner if they want. I know that's not the way that Postecoglou does like to play, but they can afford to play the ball in the corner. And as a Celtic one, we are now just entering the first minute of stoppage time, and it is still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Very, very late in the game now. Rangers need to get this ball and get it forward. But at the moment, Celtic again look at the moment quite comfortable. Got to be honest, I know it's only 1-0, but they look quite comfortable just now defensively. Another throw into Rangers here. Sorry, for Celtic here. Again, Ralston just played this ball into the corner flag. Let O battle for it, which does. Rangers do have the ball back, so they can get it forward, but they've got to get it forward quickly. Again, I'm going to mention his name again, but Carter Vickers. He's been brilliant. He really has been outstanding for Celtic. It's a throw to Rangers. We are now just about into the 2nd minute of stoppage time. It'll be a free kick to Rangers there, and they play it short. I don't know why. They need to get the ball long. Very, very anxious moments now for both sets of fans at the moment. Tavernier needs to get that ball forward, but at the moment, he can't. Ball goes back to Connor Golson. Plays a long, hopeful ball forward, which is easily held by Joe Hart. Poor ball that from Connor Golson. No need for that. There's a Celtic player down in the box as well. I think it was Rabbi Matondo with the challenge. He's got every right to go for it. You know, the ball's in the air for a bit of a long time. It's not. There's nothing in that to be honest. But this will start on a few minutes in the box. Now, 92.5 minute clock. Still Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Looking very much to win this game and be in the final on the 3rd of June. And it is looking very much likely that Celtic will, as I said weeks ago, win a treble, their 8th treble. And they've been comfortable enough defensively. They've not really caused a lot of problems, to be honest. We are now into the 93rd minute. So there's 2 minutes, unless there's any more stoppage time to come, but there's 2 more minutes of stoppage time to come. I think Carter Vickers may have just been the nicest man of the match, which I think is right, because he has been outstanding for me. And it is a throw to Celtic just beyond halfway in the Rangers half. And it looks like Jota's goal is going to be the one that gives Celtic that 1-0 victory. Rangers have put a lot into this game, but they've just not had that edge up front. As I keep on saying, Morelos was absolutely horrendous. He was dreadful, and not for the first time. And it frustrates me because Hearts make him look like a world beater, and he's genuinely not. But he was dreadful. Ryan Kent was really poor. I think you look at that Rangers team, and they have had a lot of really good players in there. I think Tillman's played well. Went off in. I think Cantwell's played well. But it's going forward that's been the problem. They've just not done enough going forward. Whereas you know that Celtic, with that pace they've got of Kyogo, Maeda, Jota, they can create. I don't think it was it's not probably been a vintage Celtic display, but as I said, it doesn't matter. It's a Scottish Cup semi-final. It's about winning the game. It's the same last season with Hearts against Hibs. All that mattered was Hearts winning that game, which we did. We didn't play well. We are now at 94 and a half minutes on the clock. So time is running out for Rangers to do something to get back in this game and take this game to extra time. I don't think they will from what I've seen. It's looking very much like Celtic are going to win this, and they will win the treble. Rangers have to get the ball back here, but it's with Celtic at the moment. The ball is with Alan McGregor, who will have to go long here, and he does. But we are now about 15 seconds away from full time, and Celtic have the ball in Rangers half. Banovic going to be pretty much done. And held up by Maeda, who has been excellent. Shot from Iwata, saved. The game is now 95 minutes, and that is it. It's all over in the second Scottish Cup semi-final. Celtic have won by 1-0. The goal from Jota on 42 minutes. A really good ball in from Maeda. As I did say, Rangers switch off. They think it's a free kick. It's not. Tavernier doesn't know where Jota is. Jota heads it in the back post. That was the only goal of the game. It has finished at Hampden in the second Scottish Cup final. Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Celtic now on the verge of history and winning another domestic treble, which will be their 8th treble, which is a phenomenal feat, let's be honest. And they will now take on Inverness Cali in the Scottish Cup final on the 3rd of June. The attendance have just been given us just over 49,000. It was, I have to say, a really good spectacle. You know, I've been trying to watch it while I'm doing the show. It has been a spectacle. Both teams put a lot into the game. I do think that Rangers huffed and puffed. They tried their best to try and get back in the game, but they just didn't have that clinical edge. It's going to be a massive disappointment for Rangers. You know, I don't know where Michael Beale goes from here now, because he's lost another big game to Celtic. They're going to be trophyless this season. It's never acceptable for Celtic or Rangers to be trophyless, but that's exactly what's going to happen this season. James Elliott says never any doubt of the result, in spite of a far better second-half performance for Rangers, and I would kind of agree with that. I think Rangers put a lot at the game, but they did huff and puff. You know, they just didn't have that clinical edge in the second half. And as I say, I think there's a few players in that Rangers team can look in that mirror and say that they did okay. Other players, for me, can look in that mirror and say, I was terrible. Ryan Kent, for that first 5 minutes, was awful. Probably that he got taken off at the start of the second half because he was offering nothing. Morelos again, he got no threat again to come. Starfelt, who Starfelt got man of the match, and so I thought he was ending the whole game today, but just didn't do enough. And that goal they lost will haunt them, because it was dreadful defending from Rangers. I say, for anyone that's not got the box, Rangers think it's a free kick. The referee does for it. 4 Rangers players switch off, as I said. Dazameda doesn't. Dyson Maeda does brilliantly. Great cross in. And as I say, Tavernier defending is awful. He's brilliant going forward, Tavernier, but he cannot defend. It's a good ball in. Jota with a header, and that's the only goal of the game. I will talk through some of the other games as well. James Elliott, nice to see Chris Sutton listen to me and pick Carter Vickers man of the match. Well, to be fair, I did say that Carter Vickers was man of the match. I thought he was excellent today. I'm still watching the scenes at the moment. Celtic players, you would really imagine, are celebrating. They know that not only is it it's looking at another treble. No disrespect to Ness, because I'm sure they put up a good fight. I thought they were decent yesterday, took the chance at the right time, but you've got to imagine that Celtic are overwhelming favourites for this final now on the 3rd of June. But there's no pressure in Inverness. Billy Dawes can go into this game with his Inverness team, and there's no pressure now. No one's expecting to win this game. They're playing against a top Celtic side who will be relentless, let's be honest. I think for Inverness fans, it's a chance of a day out. I don't know what they're going to get in ticket prices or ticket sales. I know this was a discussion point yesterday on the show when we did it about how many tickets will Inverness want. They can do a 50 split because they're just not going to get it. Celtic supporters obviously still on the ground. Rangers fans will be away for a while now. James Elliott says, as you said in the chat, Graham, you always play at the whistle. And that's what I think will frustrate Michael Beale. The fact that Rangers did not play at the whistle. You're told as a youngster. I was taught this as a youngster. You play to the whistle. You don't stop. And for that goal, 4 Rangers players stopped. And that is unacceptable. And I think that'll be something that Michael Beale will question about the desire and attitude of his players to switch off in a moment like that, because Celtic didn't stop and they scored from it. Now, again, I have to say that, again, I'm a neutral and I'm a Hearts fan, as everyone knows, and if you don't, you should. But the job that Postecoglou done at Celtic has been exceptional. You know, he's on the verge of now winning another treble, which I think they will. And the way that he gets his teams to play is the way that I kind of want Hearts to play. I want Hearts to go into every game thinking we can win. I want us to play on the front foot. I want us to play with invention and be front foot. Celtic do that. Now, I don't think we're at the best today, as I don't think they were at the best against Motherwell last week. We got a point for play. Celtic weren't at the best today. You know, they did create a lot of chances. It's not like McGregor was peppered with a lot of shots, but they got the job done. And that's what it's all about. It's a semi-final. It's all about winning the game. And Celtic have done that. Rangers, again, have failed to deliver in a massive, massive game. And I don't know how Rangers fans will be feeling just now. They could probably see their team put in at the game, but at the end of the day, they've won. And that's the massive difference. I can see a lot of that Rangers team getting ripped up after the summer. I think a tough job on his hands because, again, it's another massive game that they just haven't delivered in. I think if you're a Rangers fan right now, you've got to be feeling disappointed. James, a Hearts fan. Yeah, surprisingly I am. But the last time, a couple of weeks ago when I came on the show, I had a top on that some folk thought was a Rangers top. It clearly was. Never call me a Rangers fan on this show. But yeah, a massive result for Celtic. They are into the final. And Tony Hargett on that would win this game. I thought they had too much strength and depth. Look at the bench today. You know, look at Celtic's bench. Take out the sub-goalkeeper, Scott Bain, who wasn't going to get used, but they've got Haksabanovic, Moy, Turnbull, Kobayashi, Iwata, Ralston, and Vata. Where you look at that Rangers bench, McLaughlin, they've got Ridvan, Hadji, Suter, who actually I thought would start the game. I thought Suter would have started the game today. Surprised that he didn't. Matondo, Kamara, Wright, Sakala, and Arfield. I actually thought Arfield played well when he came on for Rangers. I really did. I thought he was one that tried to make something happen, but he just didn't, he didn't have enough support around him. I do think Tillman played well, but that Celtic squad is just far, far too strong. They've got far too much of a strong side, and I'm watching just now on Viaplay that the interviews are Jota and Carter Vickers, who, again, Jota got the goal, and Jota's one of the guys that I kind of think at times might be quite frustrating for a Celtic fan because he's got so much ability, but at times he wants to try and beat a man 3 or 4 times and just get the ball in, but he's a match winner today. He's a match winner, and I've said that a few times as well that I like players that get me in my seat that can do something different. At Hearts, we have guys like John Cahoon, Jose Katongo, Neil McCann. I like folk that entertain. You know, it's great. You want to see the team win, but you want to see entertainment, and that's what Jota does. but at times he does kind of dwell on the ball a little bit. But do you know what? Jota's got the winning goal today. His involvement has been crucial today. And again, as I said, Carter Vickers was absolutely outstanding. I thought he was by far the best player on the pitch. And I think if you look at it, Celtic for me are just a very, very, very strong side. You know, I think they will go on to probably dominate Scottish football again for a long, long time. I'm just sending a message here to somebody in the chat. Give me 2 seconds. See, again, I'm multitasking. Again, as I said, people think that men can't do 2 things at once. Well, probably my wife would say that I can't, but I can here. But yeah, I mean, I just think that Celtic are on a different level. And, you know, I just think looking at that game today, now I'm going to try and break it down as much as I can. I don't know if Scott's coming on. If we're too disappointed, he can't come on, but we'll see if he does. But I'm here till 5 o'clock anyway. So again, get all your comments in about the game today. But yeah, looking at the game today, I just think that if I look at the 2 teams, for example, that lined up, so Celtic made 2 changes to the team that drew with Motherwell last week. So in, probably no surprise, came Hatate and Jota for Iwata and Haksabanovic. Celtic lined up with goal. I think I've got another comment coming in here. James Elliott, Jota's an entertainer in the mode of Jinky, who was a master at that. See, I wasn't old enough to remember Jimmy Johnston, but I know all the stories about him. You know, such a fantastic player and stuff. But the Celtic team today was Joe Hart in goal, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor, McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly, and Jota, Maeda and Kyogo. And on the bench for Celtic, as I mentioned, they had the substitute goalkeeper Scott Bain. They had Haksabanovic, Moy, Turnbull, Kobayashi, O, Iwata, Ralston, and O'Reilly. They also made 2 team that lost against Aberdeen last week. Celtic Rangers had 1 job. Could have given Hearts a favour last week, could you not? Only kidding. So they made 2 changes. They had Conor Golson in for John Souttar. Again, a bit surprised that Souttar didn't play. I thought Souttar might have started that game, but what do I know? And also Ryan Kent, who I'll get to in a minute, came in for Fasci Sakala. So Rangers lined up with Alan McGregor in goal, Tavernier, Golson, Davis and Barisic, Lundstrom, Raskin and Cantwell, Tillman, Kent and Morelos. On the bench for Rangers, they had McLaughlin, Ridvan Hadji, Souttar, Matondo, Kamara, Wright, Sakala and Arfield. Now, if anyone that's not watched the game, you would have noticed, or I would have said you would have seen, but you wouldn't see, that there were smoke bombs that basically led to the game being a little bit delayed by a few minutes till they cleared that because you couldn't see. But to be fair, I thought Rangers started the game quite well. And as I said earlier on, there was obviously a change of referee as well. It was meant to be Willie Collum, but he picked up a calf injury during the warm-up. And Don Robertson came in, who again, I thought was okay for a Scottish Cup semi-final. Celtic Rangers, thought he did okay. There was no major incidents. But I thought Rangers did start the game quite well. And again, if Scott comes on, I'll talk about this to him as well. But I thought Rangers started the game reasonably well. 25 seconds on the clock, and Raskin has a shot deflected wide. And then there was a moment very, very early on where Lundstrom challenges Kyogo. And it's a very strong challenge. He does win the ball. Now, again, I know that on the country, I think it was Chris Sutton thought that might have been broken. I don't think it was. I think it was a strong challenge by Lundstrom, but he wins the ball cleanly. Kyogo doesn't really complain. He got up and got on with the game, and it was a very fair challenge from him. But I thought Rangers to start the game well. I can see what they're true. You know, recently when they've played against Celtic, Celtic have dominated midfield. So they tried to get on McGregor, stop him from playing, stop him from, and it worked. They didn't really let those 2 get the ball. And I think probably the first real chance of note twists for Celtic. Alistair Johnson, who again, I'm a massive, massive fan of. I think he's a very good footballer. Very rarely see him get beat 1-1. He's a very, very good defender, Alistair Johnson. But he forward on a shot pretty much comfortably saved by Alan McGregor. But I thought Rangers defended very well. You tried to defend from the midfield. I thought they were decent. I thought Lundstrom, Tillman and Cantwell, they tried to get Celtic's faces and stop Celtic playing, because if you let Celtic play, they'll destroy you. And I thought they did that. They stopped McGregor getting the ball. They stopped Hatate getting the ball, who Hatate was probably, you could see, and I think James Elliott put this in the chat actually, you could see that he's been missing for a few games. He didn't look quite as good as he normally does. But I thought a lot of that was Rangers' tactics. I thought they defended him very, very well. But Celtic, you know the threat they've got. You know that even if they're not playing that well, they will still create chances. They will still cause a threat. But I thought Rangers defended very well. There was a challenge. Barisic was booked for a foul on Johnson again. Very late challenge. Barisic does have a tendency to do that, dive in, and we'll get to Barisic shortly. And then on 34 minutes, Rangers have to make a change, which I thought distracted him a little bit because I thought Tillman was playing quite well at that point. But Tillman is taken off for Arfield after a challenge on Greg Taylor. And I think it was his hamstring, apparently, that Tillman did. And you could see that he looked visibly distraught going off. Nobody wanted to be injured. A Cup semi-final when it's Celtic and Rangers, it's a massive blow. And I thought he looked genuinely gutted that he had to come off, but you could see that he couldn't carry on. He tried to carry on a minute or so, but he went down on the ground again. He couldn't carry on. Disappointed him, but Arfield came on, who I thought was excellent for Rangers. I do have to say that. I thought Arfield is one of these guys that I'm surprised doesn't get more of a chance for Rangers, because he's one of these guys that likes to get forward. He likes to get that last man run out of the box, and he's a goal threat. He's a massive, he's a more of a goal threat than Morelos was, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, I think Arfield did well. And then for me, and we are going to be now joined by Scott. So I am delighted now to be joined by Scott McKick. Scott, thank you. How are you?
3 seconds.
Hey, there's myself.
There we go.
Are you all right, Scott?
Yeah, just fine, yeah.
Well, before we get into the game itself.
Hello?
Can you hear me? I think we're having technical difficulties. But yeah, and then 38 minutes, there was a really golden opportunity for Celtic where Maeda put a cross into the box, Jota in the box, just can't quite control. Maybe should do better. You're expecting a guy with Jota's quality to control that and finish it, but he can't. But it didn't matter, because then just a few minutes later, as I said, the goal comes, and it really is. I keep talking about this, but it is dreadful from a Rangers point of view. You can't excuse that goal. As I say, really good play from Celtic. It's not a free kick, but you can't stop. You know, you've got to react, and Rangers just didn't do that. James Elliott, Barisic's lucky not to get a second yellow and diving for a penalty, which I will get to. Hopefully, I do have Scott back. Scott, are you there?
Yep, all good.
Perfect. So we'll get into the where we're all before, but what did you make of that game overall today?
Where do you start? Typical Rangers Celtic game this season. I don't think Celtic were impressive today. Probably the poorest they've been this season, I would say, against Rangers. But Rangers, again, create chances, shoot themselves in the foot, don't take their opportunities, and Celtic just... And again, it was I would say, probably as comfortable as you can get from a 1-0 result, because Rangers offered absolutely nothing, and I think this team are done. And I think Beale's close to... Maybe I'm going a bit too harsh here, but Michael Beale is now in a perilous position, in my opinion, and we'll go into that later on. I think we need to turn our attention to the Rangers board, because I think they have dillied and dallied for too long, and I think the rebuild needs to be spot on, because they are second best, comfortably second best, and I think Michael Beale has to get it right in the summer, or he could be out of a job come the start of the season.
Yeah, we are here till 5 o'clock today. As I say, we are covering the big semi-final this afternoon that finished Rangers 0 Celtic. Now, again, we will always go through some of the highlights of the game, but I think for me, Scott, and I'm speaking on, I thought for that first minutes, Ryan, probably no surprise he got subbed. But again, I'm surprised that Morelos lasted as long as he did. But again, I thought of Fred and Morelos today.
Nah, Kent was non-existent. Kent needs to be shown the door. Hopefully never see him in a Rangers shirt again, and same goes for Morelos. The two of them need to go. Get them out the door. Hopefully never see him in a Rangers shirt again. Morelos was non-existent, as he's prone to be. The stat that confirms that is, I don't know if you heard Rory Hamilton's comment, I think it was mid-second half. Morelos and Kent have scored 6 Old Firm goals between them. Jota and Kyogo scored 8 this season. And that is the difference. That's the reason we're sitting here talking about Celtic going for a domestic treble. Rangers' forward line is rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Celtic's forward line, who weren't at their best. Kyogo didn't have a good game. I think a lot of Celtic fans will agree with that. I think Maeda is the only one that comes out with a bit of credit in the bank. Jota, you can say he was injured and wasn't up to much. Again, takes advantage of a Rangers mistake and scores. Kyogo, I thought, was disappointing. Maeda, I thought, was really good. I thought he worked hard, just does what he does. And that is the big difference. Ryan Kent was atrocious, and he has been for so long. And the fact that no Rangers fan I know wants to keep him. A $7.5 million player going for nothing is criminal, but his stats aren't good enough. He hasn't been good enough. He's been a waste of a jersey this season. He needs to go. I would get him out of the club now. I'll hopefully never see him again in a Rangers shirt. Same with Morelos. Hasn't been anywhere near the player he was 2 years ago. The two of them need to go quick, fast, and in a hurry, and move on, or you're going to be comfortably behind this Celtic team for years to come. If I hear that Michael Beale is looking at Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent to keep them, then it will tell me where Michael Beale is as a Rangers manager. And that's maybe me being harsh on Beale. I think he deserves the summer, but explain to me what he's seen today to say Alfredo Morelos should have been on that park for 75 minutes. Ryan Kent should have been gone at half time. Now he brings on Sakala, and Sakala had a shocker as well. But you saw something from Sakala. Sakala was getting himself in good areas. His end product, as always, is atrocious. But I'm just done with this Rangers team. Just done with them as a whole. The only two that come away with a bit of credibility from the start were Raskin and Cantwell, who I think will be good players to build around for the future. A couple of players off the bench, fair enough. Yeah, I thought Matondo was quite good when he came on. Yilmaz, a bit more direct. The rest can do one as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, looking at the lineup, so said before you came on there, goal, Johnson, Carter, Vicker, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, Jordan, and Kyogo. On the bench for Celtic, they had Bain, Haksabanovic, Moy, Turnbull, Kobayashi, Iwata, Ralston, and Vata. Did line up McGregor, Tavernier, Golson, Davis, Barisic, Lundstrom, Raskin, Cantwell, Tillman, Kent, Morelos. On the bench for Rangers, it was McLaughlin, Ridvan, Hadji, Suter, Matondo, Kamara, Wright, Sakala, and Arfield. Probably no surprises in the Celtic lineup there, Scott. But were you surprised at the Rangers lineup at all? Because I thought that John Suter might have started the game. Were you surprised at that lineup from Rangers today, or was that what you expected?
Yeah, probably what I expected. There would only, probably what I expected. Once, I don't know. The only one that would maybe have been surprised would probably have been maybe Suter. But I thought Davis was going to start. I'd have said maybe Suter was probably a better option. I don't think Davis had a good game earlier as well. Celtic, I was actually surprised with Celtic's lineup. I thought maybe it would play Haksabanovic instead of Maeda, but it's worked out. I wasn't really surprised with many of the lineup decisions, to be honest. And again, just it was just the exact same game we've been talking about for the last 2 or 4 games.
I mean, I actually thought Rangers started the game quite well. You know, they had that chance, 25 seconds, a shot from Raskin. I thought Rangers started the game reasonably well. They did try to get in Callum McGregor, Tati, and they did try to Celtic playing, but it was going forward that they just didn't have that threat. As I mentioned earlier on, there was no real threat else, whereas Celtic knew that even though, and I think you're right as well, I don't think Kyogo had a particularly great game. I don't think Jota was great apart from goal. I thought Maeda was really good. He just did forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's 2 things kind of sticking out to me. I think the big difference for Rangers is that you look at like Carter Vickers, for example, who was just heading away. Everything was marvellous in defence. Johnson went off injured. Taylor, I thought, was quiet. Celtic, whatever kind of big chances Rangers created, which weren't many, there was a couple where Rangers were, they're asking one, I think, is very unlucky at the start of the game. Sakala's miss is atrocious. But everything else, Carter Vickers was heading it away. Really good clearance for the Morelos Sakala kind of header. Just kind of midway through second half, Carter Vickers gets injured in that. And that was the big difference. The big difference is that Celtic are, once Celtic go a goal up, it's really difficult to peg them back unless you're as good as them at kind of breaking teams down. And Rangers aren't. Rangers are not good enough to deal with that. I said before, like if Rangers go behind to Celtic, they aren't winning. Rangers were, do you know what I mean? They had a full half and they looked good in the second half. There was a lot of tidy play. I thought Cantwell was really good. I thought there was a lot of impressive kind of passing going on, but they just were miles. They just don't have a threat. They don't have an attacking threat. Celtic were fairly comfortable. I thought they were just defending really comfortably. Wasn't a point in the game where I thought Rangers are far behind, where Rangers are going to get anything out of this, and it turned out to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much in the game in the first half. I mean, I thought there was a 6 minute, nothing really major. And in the first big thing in the 34 minutes where Malik Tillman's got to go off and he brings on Scott Arfield, it was a bit disappointing for Tillman, who actually thought the game quite well. And then he's got to go for injured. What did you make of that? Disappointing to lose Malik Tillman?
Yeah, I thought it was probably the best he's looked in an Old Firm game. I thought he was getting himself into some good areas. I thought what impressed me about him was he was breaking up a lot of Celtic's play, like a lot of kind of Celtic triangles that were developing. That we speak to a lot of Celtic. I speak to a lot of Celtic fans, and that's one thing that they always tell me is that when Celtic are up against like a team who open up, they play in wee triangles. Tillman's really good at breaking them up today, and I thought going on. I don't think. I thought it was a good substitute actually bringing on Arfield, because I thought Arfield actually had a pretty decent game. But Tillman, it would have been nice to see. Maybe Tillman he's one of the very few players in that Rangers team who could probably get, all he needs is one chance. But very disappointed. I'm very disappointed because I do think he was having a good game. I think it's the best he's looked at an Old Firm. But again, it's just that thing, that injury bingo. Rangers just have no luck with injuries. And another big example of that is today. He's got an excuse. The others
Gordon McIntosh, good to see you on again. Gordon, happy to be in the final. Yeah, I mean, I said there wasn't a lot in the game. In that first half, I thought Rangers defended quite well. They did have a chance in 38 minutes across from Maeda, George control it, but then we've got to talk about the goal, because I put in our group chat that because you're taught as a youngster, you don't stop, you play the whistle. And 4 Rangers players switch off thinking not. Maeda react where Rangers don't. It's a good cross, but again, Tavernier doesn't have a clue. It's a good head all round. It's just poor defending from Rangers, and that one moment has cost them that game.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think anybody can argue with that. I think that it's a pretty nothing foul as well. It's one of those, and the next thing, Ryan Kent for me, that's why he should be off. He should have been off before that. He just stops. Barisic again. Those are 2 players who I just want to see the back of quickly. And you see Raskin. I mean, I don't think Raskin's completely innocent here. I think he's another one who has to have a wee look and say, right, I need to step up a bit here. Raskin's directing Barisic to go for the ball, and by the time that Barisic just turned round, the ball's in Jota's head. Now that is a big difference. That is, Celtic are quick. You see, for example, Celtic were pressing Rangers really well early in the half, and managed to break up a Rangers attack. 10 seconds later, the ball's in Rangers' box. Rangers dilly and dally, and it's the same problems that Rangers have. And that's another example of why this team, they need broken up. They're not good enough, and that's another example. That we're talking about fine margins a lot in tight games, and it was a tight game that could have went either way. If Rangers had won today, I would probably still be making the same points, but it would be a different thing to talk about, because Rangers were a better. Rangers would have probably... If Rangers had won the game, I would have said they would probably been deserving of it, because I think they were probably the better team. Probably the better team today. But Celtic just controlled it a lot better. Celtic took advantage of the big opportunities. Rangers were playing the better stuff, creating, up until a certain point, creating better opportunities, but don't have anybody to finish them off. Celtic's one big chance, they score. That's the difference. That's the big difference between the two teams, and that's really where we're at now.
I mean, in terms of that goal, I'm sure that Michael Beale would be furious with how they considered the goal. To look like that is just ridiculous. And I know there's a lot of folk at blame here for Rangers players switch off, but I've kind of said at a show that I think going forward, Tavernier is excellent. There's no debate in that. But at times, I do feel that defensive, he's quite as good. And at times, he switches off. And he did it for that. It's a good Jota. But Tavernier's got to have a defensive awareness to realise where he is and stop that happening.
Yeah, he does. It's... I don't think... I spoke to somebody just before I come on, and they said Tavernier's at fault for the goal. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think that Jota just gets up better. And Tavernier's kind of too focused on the ball coming in. The mistake is letting the ball come in. Maeda's... And that's why I think Maeda was probably the only one of the Celtic front three today who walks away with pass marks, because he's alert to everything. His work rate is brilliant, and they're just quicker. And well, we're going over the same story here with between Celtic and Rangers. What's the big difference? Celtic are more alert, Celtic are more direct, Celtic are quicker, more intense, and it's working out. And they're about to win a treble. And you have to look at Celtic and say that it's been a phenomenal 2 years of business in the full landscape of it, whereas how far Celtic have went forward since Neil Lennon left, Rangers have went backwards. Rangers thought, and we'll get this is another wider issue for maybe later on in the show, but Celtic have stepped up every window. They've bought players in the right areas, they've bought players that the manager knows. Rangers are behind the curve because they have allowed that to happen. And Celtic are... You've got players in there, Carter Vickers, Rangers are linked to a lot of kind of not mid-rate players, but Carter Vickers was a player kind of looking for a boost after a disappointing time at Tottenham. Comes to Celtic, looks a rock. They're going to sell him for millions down the line. Rangers are signing a lot of players and it hasn't worked, and now they're left in limbo and letting their contracts run down. And there's a difference between the two clubs, and it shouldn't be happening, and Rangers have only got themselves to blame.
There was a moment just before half-time. Now, again, this was mentioned by Chris Sutton. I think it's probably harsh, to be honest, but there was a moment just before half-time where Barisic goes down in the box, and Chris Sutton basically said it was a dive and could be a second booking because Barisic had booked Taylor on. Do you think that's harsh? Do you think that was right decision not to a second yellow there, because it wasn't a penalty, but it wasn't a dive either. He wasn't even claiming for it.
It was one of those. It wasn't a foul. It wasn't a dive. I think he gets caught up in the turf. I think he's a bit kind of too late going down, kind of thing. It's one of those. I don't think it's a dive. I don't think he's trying to win a penalty out of it. I think it's what I. And again, my classic rant about the Hampden turf. Who on earth? We need one semi-final at one ground and one at the other, because that turf is a disgrace. And that's me going over the same points as I usually do in shows like this. But I don't think it's a dive. I don't think it's a penalty. I think it's one of those where he just loses his footing and nothing really. You're not. Nah. I just think that's Mr. Sutton kind of fishing for controversy that isn't there. It wasn't a dive. It wasn't a foul.
Yeah, I agree. So half-time 1-0 up, and then we're going to talk about this probably now more in depth because we've got another hour to go. But Rangers make a change at half-time, and we spoke about him. Sakala on for Ryan Kent, who was awful. Now, I think Kent is a player very frustrating. I think he has moments where he can be brilliant and other times where he just doesn't look interested. Today was moments that, whether it's don't look interested or I don't know, but today, that first half, it was awful. The thing was, you look at Celtic example, they've got guys like Kyogo and Maeda who track back and win tackles. Ryan Kent doesn't know it's not a game, but you've got to do a certain job, and I don't think Kent did that. But that first half, you don't want a Rangers shirt again. I mean, is it obviously now time for to seriously look and say, right, if we get any offer, thinking, let him go.
He's away anyway because his contract's up, but that's another issue of Ryan Kent. The fact that Ryan Kent's contract is allowed to go out is ridiculous to me. But he's not reliable enough. His stats are poor. He hasn't been that good this season. He's looked to me a man who knows his contract's up. We were having this discussion in the podcast a wee while ago about if when Michael Beale came in, is Ryan Kent one of the very few players who you would keep? Now, there's arguments for and against it at the time. That Ryan Kent, the excuse for Ryan Kent under Gio was is that he was put out far too much toward the left, and it was wasting him in the middle of the park. He doesn't have that excuse now because Michael Beale's played him through the left, and at times he's looked good. I thought the game at Ibrox, actually, the 2-2 game, second half, he scores a really good goal. I thought he was really good that day, but his numbers, Jota's numbers are far better. Haksabanović's numbers on average are far better. Cantwell's numbers on average are far better. You cannot have Ryan Kent. Ryan Kent isn't Rangers class anymore. He's done. He needs to go. I keep saying it. He's rubbish. Rubbish for what Rangers need right now. 7.5 million. Yes, he's had some good moments, but the fact he's leaving for nothing is again one about a point I want to make about the board later on, if you'll indulge me. But that to me says that Ryan Kent is down tools long ago, and today any Rangers player in that dressing room, all you would have to say to a Rangers player today is the team on the other side of this building, if they win today, they win a treble. Go and stop that. That should all be all the motivation you need. And I saw the two biggest threats Rangers have, Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos, offer absolutely nothing, and that tells me about where they want to be next season, and I hope it's far away from Ibrox because they aren't up to it.
Do you think that, obviously we've got Michael Beale, but do you think the fact that he played those two, could he have maybe played, i.e. Sakala from the start before that a lot of the discussion was about the fact that, well, Michael Beale picked a massive game, and again, they've let him down, so
that's a difficult one because I don't think Rabbi Matondo, although he's looked good in stages since coming in, kind of back into the side the past few weeks, I think starting him in that kind of game would have been big. He's picked Ryan Kent because he doesn't have anybody else who he thinks can do that. He's picked Alfredo Morelos because he doesn't have a number. Cholak's injured. I don't really think he trusts Sakala through the middle. I clearly understand that. But he's picked them because he was there when they came in at the start. He still thinks, Michael Beale still thinks, and I'm being disrespectful to call him he, but Michael Beale still thinks that the Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent of 3 years ago are still there. They're gone. They were away at the start of the season. They were away the minute they knew their contracts was up. So he still thought he could get something out of them, and they'll let him down. They'll let him down again. Now, you're saying there about starting Sakala. Sakala comes on at half time, which is too late because I would have changed that forward line at the start. That forward line isn't the Rangers forward line, Celtic forward line are miles apart because the Celtic forward line punished mistakes. There was a few times today where Rangers get themselves in really good areas and just didn't do anything. And that's the difference. Ryan Kent in the first half, first 5 minutes, I thought Ryan Kent looked okay. I thought it was some nice touches. He was getting kind of driving a wee bit towards the Celtic box, but after that, it just there's nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm more surprised when Ryan Kent has a good game when he doesn't, because it's the same old story with Ryan Kent. And the quicker, again, I keep saying it, I hope they never see them both in a Rangers shirt again. Both the future. Give Matondo a chance until the end of the season, see what it's like. Hadji, come on. Didn't really see much in 7 minutes, but again, I think if you can get him fit, he's a good asset. Arfield, I would give him another season. And with that, I look at Ben Scott Wright's not good enough. Cholak, maybe give him see what he's like. I don't think he's a Michael Beale type striker, but that to me, get players in, get a forward in, get a number 9 in who's going to get you 30 goals, who isn't more interested in getting his hair cut, because that's a different issue. I'm I saw Alfredo Morelos. I've learned more from Alfredo Morelos getting his haircut 2 weeks ago than what he's done in a park this season. So get him out the door. Get the two of them out the door. Sacrifice the money that you've left on the table by fanning about. Excuse my language. Rangers have fanned about in transfers for too long. Michael Beale has to look at what he must. He tells everybody that he's got an idea who he wants to bring in. They better be better than what these two have, or Michael Beale about the door with they two.
Second half, I think Morelos might have been given off. After that, it's clear-cut chances on for Johnston. And actually, I do have to say, I thought Arfield looked like a threat. He had a shot saved by 59 minutes, and then Lundstrom fires over just a few minutes later. And then probably Rangers' best chance, 60 minutes. Tavernier hits the post, Cala. I know it looks a difficult chance, but I think he has to say, I think that's a glorious opportunity.
Is that the one that Hart saves?
That's
the one that Hart saves, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the closest Rangers come to scoring. The one that Carter Vickers makes the clearance. I just don't. Again, it's just similar stuff. Like, that's the best chance. Rangers' best. Tavernier hits the post. Sakala's absolute sitter. Arfield, I think he's unlucky. I thought Arfield was good. Was actually quite good today. I thought I saw enough to say, yeah, maybe give him another season. But the fact that we're still relying on Scott Arfield and that your right back's your main goal threat tells you everything to me, and that sums it up.
Huff and puff in the second half. Celtic did look quite comfortable. A few changes, obviously. You've talked about Matondo again. Do you think Matondo did okay? Is he a player that you would like to maybe see get more?
I think he needs a chance. I think this is the perfect. The season's done. Give him 5 games, see what he's like. If he can get a couple of some decent numbers, then I'm all for him getting a chance next season. Matondo's in a big wage, so you can't just write him off. And I've saw a lot of Rangers fans write him off as he's not good enough. Hasn't been given enough of a chance. It's the same way Yilmaz. I thought Yilmaz was pretty good when he came on, and I've liked him any time I've seen him. But yeah, Yilmaz. But these guys need a lot of games. They need, do you know what I mean? They need to play consistently. They need runs in the team. Borna Barisic's race has run at Rangers. Do you know what I mean? He's been battered so many times against Celtic. He's kind of done. His value hit its peak when he got into the Euro squad, and I thought that was a perfect opportunity to sell him after the 55 season. And to be honest, just give the new guys a. And the guy Jim makes a good point. Beale's never out coaching Postecoglou. Now, again, I don't think that's a totally fair argument, because I do think that Postecoglou just has better players, has a better squad. Postecoglou is able to get the best out of that squad. Michael Beale has got players there who aren't interested, aren't really good at what they're doing. And any kind of tight game like that, where it comes down to fine margins, Celtic are going to win, because Rangers aren't good enough at that. And I kind of see that argument of Michael Beale isn't going to outcoach Postecoglou. Michael Beale might be a better coach when he has better players he can work with. Fair enough. But I keep saying it to everybody I speak to. Michael Beale has had 4 Old Firm games and he's lost 3 of them. That doesn't bode well for a Rangers manager. You know what I mean? That doesn't. And 2 of them are cups. Celtic are going to probably, 99% sure they're going to win the treble, and Beale oversaw that, because Gio left when Michael Beale could still win both cups when he came in. So Michael Beale's oversaw that. And I'm not saying get Michael Beale out the door. I think he deserves the summer to get it right. But he has a lot of work to do in the summer. He has 95% of the signings need to. Rangers need a Celtic summer of recruitment. Celtic's recruitment has been absolutely spot on since Ange came in. Rangers recruitment since they won the 55th title has been abysmal, absolutely abysmal. and to the point where Rangers have went back the way and Celtic have just overtook them. Celtic were going back the way as Rangers were going forwards. It's now the other way about, and the gap's only going to get wider unless Michael Beale seriously considers what he's doing in the summer in terms of recruitment. Signing championship players is fair enough if they're going to add, if they're going to be better than what you've got. But you need better. You need a lot better than what's there now. Alfredo Morelos is done. Ryan Kent is done. John Lundstrom's done. After today, John Lundstrom's finished for me because his lack of threat and intensity is just horrendous. You saw, I don't think Hatate was good today, and I can forgive him because obviously his injury. Callum McGregor absolutely strolled it, and the reason he strolled it is because he was just able to pick up wee pockets, was always there. John Lundstrom is just not that, and we thought last season that we were all singing he's the best in earth, and he was this and he's that, and he was going to win Rangers the Europa League. He's a shell of that player now, and I think he needs to go.
If you look at Celtic's last two games, obviously today and the game against Motherwell last week, they picked up a point last week. They've won a case of that's what champions do. They don't play well, but they get the job done. And today, where I did think Rangers actually played, they were fine. Midfield, they were fine. Didn't have the threat going forward, but is that just what champions just get done?
Yeah, it's just that mentality of like, we aren't playing well, but we can grind the result out, and that's the difference. Again, there's just so many. There's a lot of differences, but the big one for me is that Rangers are just behind Celtic in that regard. Celtic have come in, like Cantwell, I think, is one of the players who can take credit. He's geeing the fans up. He's making stuff happen. Celtic have Carter, Vickers, Johnson. I think looks a winner. McGregor's obviously really stepped up. Kyogo's a big game player. Jota's a big game player. Maeda comes alive in a big game as well. Celtic have far more big game players, and they pull it out. Now, last week, there was a lot of Celtic fans raging about last week, but you can forgive that because a lot of the players were, you can see, and that's the thing with this high intensity that Celtic play. Towards this stage of the season, you are going to pick up injuries, but that's why you're getting your business done early, getting wins in the board early. Celtic will drop 7 points this season. They're going to win the league. You know what I mean? They can afford to give players a rest. You might not see Carter Vickers again this season, and that's because they've done their hard bit. You know what I mean? They can play their second team from now until the end of the season. They'll win the league. They'll win the league comfortably. The Scottish Cup, they could probably play a second string team. Would probably still beat Inverness because they're that dominant. They've just got so much more, and they're far better than Rangers, and they're deservedly going to win a treble because that's good management, good recruitment, good coaching, and that's just where Celtic are at, and they're just so far ahead.
I mean, we talk about Carter Vickers, who I do think was excellent today. Was there anyone else in that Celtic side that you thought was impressive?
I thought McGregor was good. I thought Starfelt was okay. I thought the Japanese Iwata, he was good when he came on. He was good. He was getting himself into some good areas. Celtic weren't brilliant. Maeda's work rate was really good. Celtic weren't brilliant, but I would probably say Hatate I can excuse because he clearly was playing at kind of 70% fitness. Jota the same. Kyogo was quiet, quite isolated. McGregor strolled it. I'm trying to think who else. Taylor was quite poor. I think Carter Vickers. Johnson had Kent in his pocket. And Johnson, I really like Alistair Johnson. I think he's a really good asset. But apart from that, I thought it was. I don't think Celtic were brilliant today. I think there was very few standouts, but the kind of big players who arrived Jota won the game. So you have to give Jota a pass mark. I don't think he was brilliant apart from that. But they've just got so much depth, and they were bringing on Haksabanovic and Moy, Iwata. Do you know what I mean? Ralston come on. I thought Ralston looked pretty good when he came on as well. And they just had it in the bag. They knew if they could score before half time and keep it simple, Rangers didn't have much up front. So unless Celtic gifted Rangers goals, which Rangers do the other way, then Celtic were going to win the game.
We had Tony Haggerty to win the show on Friday, and I actually asked him about Alistair Johnson because I think whenever I've seen him play, he's looked very good. Obviously, he does get taken off injured later on in the game, but again, you're right. Ryan Kent very, very well. This has been excellent.
Sorry, you cut off with me.
I think I'm having a few technical issues here. Yeah, I think I'm having a few technical issues. I was saying that I think Alistair Johnson has been Celtic whenever I've seen him. And again, I thought today until he got taken off, he was doing a number on Ryan Kent.
Yeah, just had him fairly comfortably in the game. I don't think there was much in the way of that. Like it was a pretty good afternoon for Ryan Kent.
Oh, and I think Scott appears to have cut off. I don't know if that was me or if that was him. But yeah, I mean, I've said before, I think Alistair Johnson's been excellent. Anything I've seen for Celtic is very impressive. I thought for me, and again, to go back to what Scott mentioned there, disappointed in Ryan Kent. I think Ryan Kent is a very good player. But for me, in the game, scored a while ago. But for me, these things, he doesn't do. He needs a lot more desire, heart, attitude. He didn't have any of that. And as I say, when you look at Celtic again, and again, I don't think Celtic are the best. But the thing about Celtic is they have that work rate. You've got guys like Ogo, guys like they back, they work to win the ball back. They don't have it. There was a moment in the first half, I can't remember what it was, but Kyogo back, he won the ball and then burst forward and played a really good ball in behind. Actually, they have that work rate, they have that kind of attitude that, and it's what Postecoglou always say, that they don't stop, and they don't. They've got the attitude that they keep going, and I think when you're at Celtic, there is that kind of, yes, you have to win, but you've got to have that desire and attitude that you've got to work hard. That shouldn't even be. You shouldn't need to say that to anybody. They are working hard every game, but I think Celtic have that, and Rangers, for me, just don't have that. They don't have that work ethic and the pride in the shirt, I would say, as well. And that's what it's about. I've said this about Hearts as well. Numerous times I've seen too many Hearts players that just don't care. Now, I don't think a lot of Rangers can have that today, because some of them are actually okay. Lundstrom, I thought, was okay. I thought Tillman played well till he went off. I thought Cantwell was really good. But you're looking at those two, Morelos and Kent, and again, they just don't look like they've got the hunger, the desire, and the passion to play for the shirt. And as a fan, that would be massively disappointing, because that's something you should always be for. And I think that Celtic, even though they didn't play brilliantly today, they had that. They had that also in the team. And also for me than Carter Vickers, who threw his body on the line, threw his head in the way. He was outstanding. Defensively, it was brilliant. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves Celtic at some point in the near future, because he's too good for this league. Let's be honest, he's far too good for this league. But Celtic not played well today. They've won the game fairly comfortably, because Rangers didn't do enough to cause problems for me. And again, I don't want to keep talking about it. You look at that game today, and Morelos just caused no threat. And the problem I think the Rangers have got is they don't have that pace up front. Now, they do have it when Sakala's on the pitch, because quick. They don't have it when you've got Morelos there, because he's not got any pace. He can't get in behind. You can't do what Celtic do. Celtic can ball behind if they want, because they know they've got guys like Kyogo. They've got guys like Jota, and they've got guys like Maeda who can get in behind. Rangers don't have that option. The only option they've really got is when Sakala comes on, because the only pace they've got. And again, I think midfield, you look at the midfield, he's a good player. He's a strong physical presence, but he, again, not got the pace to get forward. He had a moment in the first half, I think it was, where he tried to break forward and just couldn't get a shot. But they just don't have enough. And again, the fact that Celtic will now, I keep saying there's no disrespect to Inverness, Celtic will win the treble. There's no doubt about that at all. And they deserve it. They've been the better side all season. When they've not played that well, they've still been the best team in the country. And I think the thing for me is as well, next week, and I know we'll get to this next Friday when we're on the show, but next week you're going to have Hearts against Celtic at Tynecastle. Now, as much as I would love for Hearts to be the team that kind of wins the game next week, I don't think it'll happen, because Celtic at Tynecastle know that if they win, they've won the league. They won the league anyway, but know that they come to Tynecastle winning the league. And I'd love to be the team that stop someone in net next week, but I just don't think we're going to be strong enough to do it. Now, Hearts did play well against Ross County last week, but Celtic are just strong. Celtic could afford to make 4 or 5 changes next week, and it wouldn't make any difference. They'll still win. But today, it was a massive, massive game. It was a massive, massive occasion. Celtic knew that basically they win today, they win the treble. Rangers knew that they had to stop Celtic winning the treble, and they just weren't good enough to do it. Now, there are players in that Rangers team who I think can hold their head up high and say that we did everything we could, i.e., I think back line they were fine. I think Goldson did okay. I thought at times Davis looked decent. I would still have probably thought that John Suter might have started the game midday, but he didn't. Midfield again, I thought they were fine. I thought Cantwell was very, very impressive. Tried when he could, but they just didn't have that threat going forward because the likes of Kent and Morelos were awful. They were just terrible. So it's a big, big day for Celtic. Celtic fans will be rightly celebrating, a fantastic, fantastic result and a fantastic win. And they did deserve it. There's no real debate in that. They did deserve it. I'm just trying to get some of those in the women's game as well today. So again, the games that have finished, Aberdeen 0, Motherwell 2, Partick Thistle 0, Glasgow City 2, and Celtic 3, Hibs 0. The games that are underway just now are Glasgow Women 0, Spartans 1, and Hamilton 0, Dundee United 1. It's just kicked off. We're about maybe 11 minutes into the game, and it's Rangers 0, Hearts 0. So they're the scores at the moment. If I look at the league table at the moment, so currently Glasgow City are top on 71 points, Celtic are second on 69, and as things stand at the moment, Rangers are third on 66, but that could obviously change. Very, very tight at the top, but Glasgow in at the moment, very, very strong position. But yeah, I just think today, it just was one of these games that, just have a look where, it was just one of these games that for me, Rangers didn't do enough to put problems on forward, and that's where the threat's going to come. Gordon McIntosh, pretty good game of Hearts turn up. Same form as the last week game. That's what I'm hoping for. I really hope that Hearts do perform like that against Ross County. Now, I know that folk will say it was only Ross County, but they did have like the third best defensive record at that point. So to hammer Ross County by 6-1 was brilliant. And again, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Shank can do next week, because Shankman's got 25 goals now for Hearts, which is phenomenal. And the last time we played Celtic at Tynecastle, he scored a hat-trick. There were no 2 penalties, but if we can cause Celtic problems next week, and I think we can, it could be a decent game next week. But I just feel that Celtic will be too strong. I really do. I just think they'll come out of Tynecastle knowing that, when they played us in the Scottish Cup, they were just good. I never would win the game. I hope, but I knew. But Celtic were just too strong. A guy like Keogh, good, massive. So I am concerned for Hearts next week, because I do think we could be a hammer in here. Hopefully not, but it could be a decent game. It could be a decent game if Hearts have a go. And I actually think, maybe wrongly, but I actually think Stephen Naismith will set us up to have a go, whereas Robin Nielsen probably wouldn't. And I'm not disrespecting Nielsen here, but I just think, and I've said this before as well, for me, if you have a manager that was a defender as a player, you're going to get defensive-minded football. If you have an attacker that was an attack-minded player, then you're going to get an attack-minded manager. And I think that's what Naismith's done. And that showed last week against Ross County. We were basically playing 4-2-4. And we were attacking, and it was great. And I hope to do that next week. I hope he doesn't see somebody Shank, Janelli, and Mackay cause problems. But it could be a match next week. But I do feel Celtic were too strong. Today, they're a winning machine. That's the best I can say. They're a winning machine. They go into these games and they know that they've got the quality to win this game, even if they're not playing that well. And I think Scott's right. I think what he said about Celtic not playing at their best, he was bang on. I don't think they did play well, but they knew that they had that threat going forward. And they knew that if they defended well, they would win the game. And they did that today. They defended brilliantly. Carter Vickers was outstanding. And I think as well, I have to say as well, when he first came to Celtic, I thought Carter Starford made quite a few mistakes. He made one at Tynecastle, his first game. But he has been excellent playing alongside Carter Vickers. He's been much improved player. And that's, again, down to Postecoglou's man management. And again, I think on Friday we spoke about this as well, when Reagan was on. Michael spoke about the fact that you look at Greg Taylor, looked like he might be at the door. He's now one of the first names in the team sheet. Anthony Ralston, who couldn't get in the team, he comes off the bench today. It doesn't weaken Celtic. So they've got strength and depth, and you've got no doubt that in the summer they'll go and probably sign 2 or 3 more players. And I kind of, as a Scotland fan, I feel sorry for the likes of David Turnbull, because David Turnbull is a very gifted footballer, but he can't get in the Celtic team because it's just too strong. You know, you're bringing guys like Haksabanovic on today, who again doesn't weaken the Celtic team when you take players off. But again, David Turnbull just can't get in that starting 11, and it's such a good side. But Celtic will just go from strength to strength here. And I think if you're a Celtic fan watching this now, I mean, next season, you will be looking at winning the treble again, I've no doubt. But if you're a Celtic fan watching this show now, is next season about better in European football? Because obviously this season wasn't the best. But I will come out by saying you had a very hard group with the likes of Real Madrid and like. And I did say at the time when we did these live shows, I did say that I thought against Real Madrid, Celtic competed very well, especially a game at Celtic Park. I thought they were excellent. They just didn't score. And when you're playing teams like Real Madrid, you've got, I think Maeda missed a glorious chance just after, I think, make it 1-0. These games are going to be massive. So if you're a Celtic fan, is it now about doing better in Europe next season? Because they'll be in the Champions League, I think. I know qualifying to play, but I think Celtic will be really strong again next season. But, and again, in terms of managers, if you're a Celtic fan watching this, now I know you've had a lot of good managers over the years. Where does Postecoglou now sit in terms of managers for you? Because I know you'll have a list of managers that have done brilliantly for Celtic. They're not going to win a treble this season. So, where do you now put Postecoglou in terms of managers for Celtic? Is he up there as one of the best, or is it too early yet? So let me know in the chat in the comments. I'm going to try and get Scott back in if I can, because he is waiting to try and come on, but he can't get on. So let me just try and send him a link for this. But yeah, I mean, in terms of Rangers, I think they were okay in spells, but very disappointing that they just didn't have that threat going forward. And I'm interested to get Scott's comments actually on where Rangers go from here now, because let's be honest, their season's done. You know, they are going to finish second. They've nothing now to play for. They were disappointing last week against Aberdeen. They've now lost this game today. So where do Rangers go from here? I'm interested to know if any Rangers fans are watching, where do they go from here? And I just think that if you look at that Rangers team, they probably will be looking to let a few players go, i.e. Morelos, Kent, they will go. I think Lundstrom, he's a good player, but again, he's getting older. Is he the guy you want in that team? I don't know. I'm interested to get Scott's comments, so if I can get him back on here, I'm going to try and send the link to Scott to see if we can get him back on the show. So just give me 2 seconds. Link. Sorry, I know it's not great to have dead there, but I'm just trying to send the link to Scott. Right, you should have that now, so hopefully we'll get Scott back on. But yeah, I just think in terms of today, it's a massive letdown for Rangers fans. They'll be their big chance of silverware, and they've blown it. Gordon kind of about Ange got the potential definitely to be one of the greatest Celtic managers of all time. Big claim, but the way he's going, I won't be surprised, because he's a very shrewd manager. And again, every manager who goes to the club, they have to get recruitment right, and it is difficult. I'm a Hearts fan, I know that, but I think Postecoglou's got a lot of these signings right. And again, I spoke about the fact that the Asian market is a brilliant market. It's one I'd like Hearts to use a bit more. Now, again, we've brought in a guy called Jutaro Oda, who was excellent last week. He's not maybe had a lot of chances, but I'd like to see us going down that route a bit more. But again, Postecoglou knows that market. It's a great, great market to go down. So yeah, I think Celtic will just get stronger next season. I really do, and it's a worry for me as a Hearts fan. It's a worry for every fan of every club. But Celtic will just get stronger next season. And where do you go from here? I just think Celtic will be far stronger next season. They are building a very strong squad. I think Callum McGregor for me has been a fantastic captain. Scott Brown, who's going to take over that mantle? And I think Scott Brown's been out. I think McGregor's been fantastic. Gordon McIntosh, if we get that's got to the goal. What success in Europe? Is it getting at the group stage? Because that, for me, probably would be success for Celtic, get at the group stage. It also depends who you get in the draw. You know, a very difficult draw. But Celtic have the quality to beat a lot of good teams, I think, especially at Celtic Park. You know, how many times have you seen, like, players, for example, Xavi, talking about the atmosphere at Celtic Park and it's electric? So that's probably got to be the aim, but I just think Celtic will get stronger next season. I think for Rangers now, what are they doing here? Where do they go now from here? Try to get back on, but he says his laptop's not letting him back on. So I might not get Scott back on, but we'll find out. There's a comment here on Twitter. Now it's not anything to do with the show, but I want to read this out. So one of the guys in the chat says 5 trebles in 7 years is an embarrassment for Scottish football. So the fact that it's Inverness, Cali in the final, and they've had the Indian sign of a few times over Celtic in the Cup in recent history, helps a wee bit. Now, I kind of know where he's coming from because we all know Celtic have dominated Scottish football for many, many years. Celtic have won numerous trebles, and it doesn't probably paint Scottish football in a great light. But they've got the money, they've got the finance, they've got the resources, they've got the stadium, they've got the infrastructure. They're 20 odd years of this. I was brought up in the 80s. I've known nothing different. You know, we had a 86 blew it against Dundee, unfortunately, a game that I was at. I know I don't look that old, but I genuinely am. But yeah, it is the fact that, you know, Celtic are raised the league. And this is why for a long, long time, I would like to see the league extended. Now, it's not going to make any difference. They'll still win the league, but I would like to see an 18-team league in Scotland. I've spoken about this numerous times. I just think when you play the same teams 4, 5, potentially 6 times a season, if you're in a cup draw, it's boring. It genuinely does get boring. And a lot of those games, players know each other inside out. They know what people like to do. And it does, for me, get boring. I'd like to extend one habit, but, you know, Celtic will win another treble. Inverness, for me, start lose. They're going to final where they're not expected to win. It's a massive occasion for them. Now, if you're in Inverness, what you want to do, and it won't happen, but what you want to do is score the first goal and then basically just defend for your lives. But defending against the Celtic team is so tough because they're just so hard to play against. They're relentless. I keep using it, but they're relentless. There's not a lot you can do. If Celtic turn up to Hampden Park in the mood, they could take 4 or 5 of Inverness easily in the first half. It's going to be a very interesting game, but I just think that Celtic will be far too strong. In terms of Rangers, I mean, they've got 5 games left of the season, and I don't know where they go here because the season's done. They've nothing to play for. So I think Michael Beale's got a difficult job on his hands now because, as Scott said, there's players in that Rangers team who are not trying. They look like they've just lost interest. And it's not a great look. Now, the Rangers board have taken a because I think Ross Wilson again took a lot. I do like the look of Malik Tillman. I think Cantwell is a good player as well. Yeah, probably Rangers' best threat. Yes, they are. Sorry. Liverpool are 1-0 up against Tottenham. I'm a Liverpool fan. Curtis Jones scored after 3 minutes, so a really good start for Liverpool there. Who'd have thought a Hearts fan liking Liverpool? You never walk alone, but I'm a Liverpool fan as well. But yeah, I just think today for Rangers, it's a massive letdown. We went into that game. Now, I don't know, because I'm not a Rangers fan. I don't know how Rangers fans felt about the game going into this. Did they think they could win it? Did they ever think they had a chance of winning it? But they've just not done enough again in a massive game. You know, this was a game that they knew that if they win this, they win the cup, and they've put a stop to Celtic's treble. They've just not been able to do it again. I'm not going to say they bottled it because I think that's a little bit harsh. I just think they didn't have enough going forward to really cause enough problems to that Celtic defence. And I think if you're Michael Beale, you'll now go away and lick your wounds and think, well, what do we do now? Because they've now got 5 meaningless games left to the end of the season. And I think, for me, as an outsider looking in, I think they need to probably lose about 4 or 5 of that team. I mean, looking at the team at the moment, Alan McGregor will probably stay, Tavernier will stay. I think they'll obviously keep Jones, but they need to get him fit. I think they'll probably will keep the likes of Goldson and the likes of Davis. I'm not entirely sure about Davis, to be honest. Times he looks a little bit rash at times, fine, but I think they'll keep him. Barisic, for me, I think Scott's right. I think he's on his last legs. I think he's done. Probably fortunate not to be. Again, I think Scott's right. Again, it probably wasn't a dive. He wasn't really looking for it, so it probably wasn't a dive, but he's on his last leg as well. Midfield, Lundstrom, he's a good player, but he's not got the energy. I think Tillman's a good one. They'll keep him. I think they'll probably keep. I'm trying to look at the Rangers team. I think, who would I keep if I was a Rangers fan? And I think for me, I've actually got a list of the players here that I would say looking at. So if I'm looking at the Rangers team, McGregor they'll keep, Tavernier they'll keep, Goldson they'll keep, Davis will keep, Barisic, I think he'll probably go. And I don't think a lot of Rangers fans would disappoint if he did. Lundstrom, I think he might go, to be honest. He's not got the legs anymore. Raskin they'll keep, Cantwell, again, they'll keep, Tillman they'll keep, Kent and Morelos will go. Absolutely they'll go, because they are good players, but not good enough now. They don't do enough. James Elliott, Kent, Tillman and Morelos definitely going. I would agree with that. You look at the subs, McLaughlin, they'll keep as a sub goalkeeper. Ridvan, not really seen enough of him. I don't know if he'll stay. Oh, chance for Liverpool. Goal for Liverpool. 2-0 up already. And it's Lewis. It's played Liverpool. No. I know it's a Scottish show, but I don't care. I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm delighted. And one of our colleagues, Riggers, are Tottenham fans, so he'll be not enjoying this. But yeah, Liverpool 2, Tottenham 0 after only 4 minutes. Brilliant play. I think Hadji will stay. Again, a good player. Will stay. Again, I did say I'm surprised he didn't start the game today, but Matondo, Matondo's one of these ones, again, I thought he did okay today, but it's frustrating. I think he doesn't do enough in these big games. Kamara, again, a good player, but I think he'll go. Scott Wright, I agree with what Scott said earlier. I don't think he's good enough. He's a decent, probably, and this is maybe harsh, I think he's probably a championship player at best. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. And again, Sakala, I think they'll keep. I think he's looked okay. And I think they'll keep. So there's a few players in the Rangers team will probably go losing because they're not good enough. They just the heart and the passion to play for that Rangers side, and that's disappointing. You look at the Celtic team though. I mean, looking at our Celtic side, and again, Celtic fans that are watching this, you'll be telling me, but you look at that Celtic team today. Johnston, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, Maeda, Jota, Kyogo. That is a very, very strong Celtic side. And again, I'm going to ask Celtic fans in the chat, if you're still watching this, you look at that Celtic side at the moment that I've just read out here, where do you rank that in terms of the best Celtic sides you've seen? Because I'm genuinely intrigued. James Elliott, Hadji just coming back from injury, so he'll be there next season, I think. But where would you put the Celtic side in terms of the best Celtic side you've seen? And again, look at the bench. Bain, Haksabanovic, Moy, Turnbull, Kobayashi, O, Iwata, Ralston, Vata. I mean, how strong is that Celtic side? Is it one of the best Celtic sides that there's been for a long, long time? I know there's been a number of great Celtic sides. You look at the Martin O'Neill team, where they had like Hartson, Larson, Sutton, Bobo Balde. You know, it's just, the sides are just ridiculous. And it's quite funny because I remember listening to, I think it was a Sacked in the Morning podcast that I listened to, and Martin O'Neill was on it and he talked about Bobo Balde, you know, and basically you would side with him in an argument because he was massive. But that Celtic side again is just so, so strong. And if you're a Celtic fan, it just must be great, let's be honest. You're not losing a lot of games, you are relentless. I think you've only lost one game, I think, this season against St Mirren at the Smiles Stadium, I think it's called. But I mean, just looking at that team, that Celtic side is strong. I mean, again, I was brought up in the 80s. I have a lot of very strong Celtic sides, and this is right up there as one of the best ones because going forward, they're really strong. They're really quick. I keep going on about this, but Callum McGregor is a magnificent role model. He's a brilliant captain, and he's a great player. And he's been a great player for Celtic and for Scotland. But I think going forward the rest of the season, Celtic probably now, I think they'll win the league at Tynecastle. I hate saying this, but I just think they'll win the league at Tynecastle. I really do. The league will be won. James Elliott, difficult one to answer. Each generation will have their favourites. For me, they'll never beat the Lisbon Lions. Yeah, I mean, again, you look at that 1967 Celtic squad. I wasn't old enough. James probably is. Sorry, James. But they've had a lot of really good Celtic sides over the years. So have Rangers, though. A lot of teams have had really good sides over the years. This Rangers side at the moment, I don't think is anywhere near as strong a Rangers side as I've seen for a long, long time. You look back at the 90s when they had guys like Mark Hateley, Ali McCoy, John Brown, Ian Durrant. They don't really have that level of player now. So you do have a lot of really good teams out there just now. And I think, for me, the rest of the season for Rangers, Scott, I don't think he'll come back on. His laptop's bust. I'm on the 20 minutes to go on my own. But I can talk more than 20 minutes. My wife will tell you that. But I just think, actually quite liking getting the comments actually coming in here. James Elliott, thank you, apology. Some folk will say Hearts fans never apologise for anything. Well, I just did, so there you go. But, yeah, I mean, just looking at the Rangers side, I mean, I think that for the rest of the season, I don't know what Michael Beale does from here because the season's done. They've nothing to play for now. They're going to get second. They can't, obviously, win the cup now. And again, that is going to be a massive blow to Rangers fans. Now, I know that tonight will be massively frustrated. They'll probably be phoning radio shows, not this one because we're not on. Don't have a phone. It's probably a good thing as well. But they will be massively frustrated tonight that they again have failed in a massive game to stop Celtic winning a treble. And comment coming here as well. James Elliott, Carmack is a super player who could cut it in any league. Again, I think that's a good point. I think I look at McGregor and I think now he probably wouldn't play for Man City, let's be honest, because City have got enough quality there. Kevin De Bruyne is too good. But if you look at the top sides, like an Arsenal, like a Liverpool, I was going to say top, but they're not a top side, he would get all those guys in the Premier League because he's a quality footballer. He's a brilliant player. But again, you look at Kyogo, and I think Kyogo would get in a lot of those top sides in the Premier League because he's got everything you want as a striker. Now, when I was younger, I was a striker, and although I'm 6 foot now, I was quite tall back then, but I was basically known for my pace. I was quite quick. And Kyogo does a lot of stuff that I try and kind of look back on and think, now, did I do that as a youngster? And I think I did. His movement is brilliant. He plays on the shoulder. He's a fantastic player, and I think he can get into a lot of these sides. But a lot of these Celtic players would. Whereas I look at the Celtic Rangers side, and I don't think most of their players would get in the top side in the Premier League. Now, it was a few years ago now where Morelos had the chance to leave for 20 million, and he didn't go. I think Rangers might regret that now. Because he looks a shadow of the player he was. And he looks like the most angriest man on the planet when he plays football. Chance for Liverpool here. Oh, I've got to shoot there, pal. Liverpool were in for a third there. But yeah, just look at that Rangers side, and I think for me, Michael Beale is going to have a very difficult summer now. Because what does he do? What does he do with that team? I think they don't have Ross Wilson now as sporting director. And again, I'm kind of in the thing as well. And again, anyone in the group chat, tell me this as well. Do you think you need a director of football director? Because a lot of clubs don't have one. The Hearts have got it with Joe Savage, who I do like. But do you need a sporting director? Is that a thing that you don't really need now? James Elliott, Japan missing a trick by ignoring Kyogo, which is a surprise, to be honest. I mean, they must have some team. They did the World Cup, but they must have some team if Kyogo can't get in that side. And actually, just talking about some of these players as well, and I do want to mention it because I didn't mention it earlier on when Scott was on. And I mentioned it a few times in the show, Michael, and when James Regan, Dyson May is the kid that I think if I was a manager, I would love to work with because his energy higher. That one, I mean, he scored his work. That's the kind of guy I want. Someone that is just never stops working. I think made that day was brilliant. I said before, I think man of the match for me was Carter Vickers, 100%. I genuinely thought Maeda was absolutely outstanding. James Elliott in for Liverpool. Woohoo! It could be 3-0 after 13 minutes. It's a foul on Gakpo, actually. Really good move by Liverpool, who are moving the ball really quickly. Really good football by Liverpool at times. And I quite like the fact that Trent is now playing. Oh, it's a definite penalty. Gakpo brought down in this definite penalty, but the last penalty took, Salah missed. So I don't know who's going to take this. It might be Salah again. It's a rash challenge. He's got no need to make that challenge in there. It's a challenge for Romero. He's got no need to make that challenge. It's a poor challenge for me. And it's a penalty at Liverpool. I don't know who's taking it. It looks like Salah's not taking it because he has missed his last two. Mo Salah is taking it, to be fair. Mo Salah is going to step up to try and put Liverpool 3-0 up after 30 minutes. I think it's a very, very poor mistake, I've got to say. But I'm worried here because Salah has missed his last two. See what happens with this penalty before we go back to the game. But Liverpool penalty, I'm going to step up to try and make it 3-0 to Liverpool. Up steps Salah, never in doubt. 3-0 Liverpool, never in doubt. Great penalty. Liverpool in absolute cruise control at the moment. Liverpool 3, Tottenham 0 as Liverpool try and get back to, try and fight for that fourth place. So it's going to be difficult, but what a start. What a start for Liverpool. 3-0 up after 40 minutes. I'm not going to say the game's done because I'm too old and experienced to realise that it maybe isn't. But yeah, Liverpool 3-0 up. But in terms of Celtic again, just going back to Maeda, he really is a guy I want in my team because he's just all energy, he's all action, he doesn't stop. And I think if I'm Postecoglou, he's a guy I want to work with because that's what you want. You want to see your players working hard. I know it's not their job, like strikers don't like tracking back, but Maeda does it. Kyogo does it. And that's the massive difference that I see between Celtic and Rangers. The work rate is totally different. You don't see that from Ryan Kent. You don't see that from Morelos. They don't track back. And that's the massive difference, or a lot of differences I see from both teams, actually. Jay Elliott, Spurs fans leaving early. Well, to be honest, so that, to be honest. I mean, again, Liverpool do give you chances, so there's no way back in this game. At the moment, you've got to think Liverpool have got this game so could go more than we did 7 against Man United. So a chance we could do that again, to be honest. Might not happen, but yeah, 3-0 Liverpool after 50 minutes. But in terms of the overall season, again, I just want to talk about the overall season because Celtic now are going for an 8th treble, which they will win. Rangers is nothing to play for, but I think if you look at the season overall, Celtic have been by far and away. There's no one can debate that. They are just been far, far too strong. And even when they've not been at their best, they've still been good. They've still been clinical. Last week against Motherwell, they weren't brilliant. Van Veen scored a good goal, but they weren't brilliant. And again today, and I think Scott's right. I don't think Celtic were the best today. They didn't really create a lot of chances. Alan McGregor wasn't really overworked, but neither was Joe Hart. But Celtic just get the job done. And that's what you want. Celtic just get the job done. And I think that going forward, I think next season they will be even better. The rest of the season, Celtic now can afford to make a few changes. They can afford to changes after they get time next week when the league will probably be won. Then it's just getting ready for the Scottish Cup. James Elliott says Celtic attack and defend as a team, and again, that's another thing as well. That's what you want from your team. You want to see if I've said this numerous times as well. I can accept when Hearts get beat because it happens, but there's a way to get beat. See if I'm seeing my team working hard, tracking back, defending well, creating chances, and we just get beat because we're just not being clinical enough. I can accept that. What I can never accept is being out, not working hard enough. I can never accept my team being outfought, outworked. That shouldn't happen. And I've very, very ever rarely seen Celtic being outfought, outworked. I've seen it in the SWPL. It's 1 Hearts 0. So that's I think I might be doing that. That's maybe the first time. Past 4 kickoff, but it's 1-0. 1-0 to Rangers at the moment. Celtic obviously well on, beat Hibs 3-1. It's a fantastic title race in the SWPL as well with Glasgow City, Celtic and Rangers. Glasgow City ahead at the moment, but Celtic fighting back in that. So corner to Liverpool as well. 17 minutes on the clock. Liverpool look very dangerous every time they go forward. Spurs look very rattled. But yeah, I mean, I just think that Celtic team is just far, far too strong. But I could go through that whole Celtic side, and they are just far, far too strong. But I'm disappointed. I'm gutted that Scott couldn't go back on his laptop. I don't think it's working. But I'd like to get talk about Rangers on the board as well, because I know I had a few good points to make about that. But I think the Rangers board have let Rangers down a little bit, and I think Michael Beale for me. And again, I don't want to be critical of Michael Beale because he is new in the job, but I think for me, this job is far too big for Michael Beale. Now I know that he talks. People think he talks a good game, and sometimes when I hear him in the press, I think I would just shut up. You're just talking nonsense. I think this job is too big for Michael Beale. I've genuinely said this before. I think it's too big for him. They needed a more experienced manager, and again, he left QPR to come to Rangers. Now QPR are a decent team in the Championship, and he's left them to come to Rangers, and I think it's too big for him. I genuinely think it is far too big for him. Now, whether he gets back in the summer, I'm assuming he will. James Elliott, the semi-final was a classic game. 2 halves, Celtic in the first, Rangers in the second. Big difference, taking the chances. And yeah, that's the thing. You know, Rangers had a lot of the ball second half, but just didn't do enough. They had that shot off the post from Tavernier, and then I do think, as I said earlier, I think Sakala should score, but he doesn't, puts it side net. But Celtic, they are just levels above. You know, they've gone into that game today, and again, I tend to listen to a lot of podcasts when I get bored, and I tend to listen to other radio shows as well as this one. And, you know, they all had Celtic as favourites, rightly so, because Celtic are a stronger side. But Celtic didn't have to be at their best in that game. And I think if you're a Rangers fan, that's got to be disappointing. Now, again, they'll be on a lot of social media, they'll be on a lot of videos, probably saying Michael Beale. Let's be honest, disappointed. They're raving at the fact they've lost this game. Probably harsh to say that, but I do think this job was too big for Michael Beale. I think they needed somebody more experienced. It's the same with Hearts. Stephen Naismith, I don't want him to get the Hearts job full time because he's not experienced enough. And it's the same with Michael Beale. Now, I think Van Bronckhorst is doing a decent job. He took Rangers to the European final. He won them the Scottish Cup. Should they have sacked Van Bronckhorst? I'm not sure they should have done. And then to bring in a guy that has limited experience as a guy like Michael Beale, I thought was a wrong decision. But they've done it. You've got to let down by that. But I do think Rangers have got a massive summer coming out now because they can't afford to not win something next season. Rangers fans won't accept it. I think they've got to start next season really well. Now, if by, I think the season starts in, I think the Premier Sports Cup starts in July, so they won't start then. I think it's about August the next season starts. If they find themselves, let's say, for example, right, let's say by early October, they find themselves 4 to 5 points behind Celtic, I think they will be struggling to come back because Celtic don't drop a lot of points. Rangers have got to start the season well. They have to start really well. They have to transfer Liverpool there to get 4 there. Salah with a good effort there, but Rangers have got to start the game well next season. They can't afford to drop points early on because Celtic, I don't think, will. Celtic will be up for it again next season. And the signings will be interesting to see what both teams do in the summer. I don't know if you're obviously Celtic fans watching this. What would you like to see Postecoglou do in the summer? Who do you think to sign? Is there anyone you would let go? Got 7 minutes left of the show, so give me your thoughts. James Elliott done a great job, Graham, in difficult circumstances. Thank you, James. I try and act like a constant pro, even though I'm probably not. But yeah, obviously Scott's Wi-Fi wasn't working, so he had to kind of pull it in. His laptop's not working, but it's what it is. As the Queen song goes, the show must go on. I'm a massive fan of Queen. I could sing a song, but I won't. Because I am the champion. See what I did there? But yeah, I mean, it's been one of these games today that Celtic go away absolutely delighted in the final of the Scottish Cup, which they were playing the rest of the third. Rangers go away thinking they flopped another massive game. They've let them down. And I know that this will get talked about on other radio channels as well, but for me, we keep saying it and I keep going back to it. Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent let Rangers down today. They were empty jerseys today. They weren't interested. And to go into that game today and not be interested is, for me, disgraceful. It's unforgivable. And I can see what Scott's saying about the fact that he doesn't want to see Ryan Kent and Morelos playing for Rangers again. I think they will this season. They will play again because they've got maybe no other option. But the season's done. They've not. The season's finished. But they have massively let their team down today. Those two in particular. I think other guys can hold their head up high and say we did what we could today. I.e., Tillman before he went off. Tillman, Cantwell, Lundstrom, example. They can hold their head up and say we did well. I think defensively they did okay today, as I said. Davis and Goulson, I think, did well, but it's that front end. And again, I think Fashion Cala is one of these players that I would find frustrating if he played for my team, because at times he looks great and other times he just looks dreadful. And you look at the chance that he has, I think he's going to score. Again, it's off the post and I think he's got to score. But they just have enough threat going forward. I think they do miss Čolak. Čolak's a different type of player from Morelos. He's strong. He can get him behind. He's not the quickest, but he can get behind. I just think they do miss that. Morelos just giving them just now. James Elliott, don't want to say but I think Turnbull in the summer. That's the thing I mentioned a minute ago as well. I really do feel sorry for David Turnbull because he's such a good player. And he can't get in that Celtic team because it's too strong. You can't drop anyone from that Celtic team. But as I keep on saying, you could rest 3 or 4 Celtic players and it doesn't weaken them because the players they bring in are really good. Whereas Rangers today, and again, I'm not disrespecting them here, but you're bringing on guys like Ridvan, you're bringing on guys like Scott Wright. They're not good enough for Rangers. They're not good enough for the Premier League, I don't think, personally. So they're not making changes that are going to affect a game. Scott Arfield, I think, is a really good player. I really do. I think he's got that threat going forward. And again, he's the best threat coming on today. He just won't do enough forward. But it is about Celtic today. Celtic are in the Scottish Cup final. If you don't know, I'm hiding on the rock for the last 2 hours. But Celtic, the Scottish Cup final, they beat by 0-0, the goal Otter. We've got 4 minutes left, and I have to talk about it because I've mentioned it numerous times. But that defending from Rangers is horrific. I mean, it's schoolboy stuff. I think Michael Beale will be furious. I haven't heard his interview after the game, but he'll be furious, and rightly so, because to lose a game like that, the goal you lost, is embarrassing. You don't stop. You wait for the goal. Whistle doesn't go, and fair play to Maeda, because Diaz Maeda reacts. He gets the ball, puts the cross in, and Jota scores. But that defending from Rangers is absolutely horrendous. They just switch off. Very, very poor for me. Gordon McIntosh, I chance will bring more great signings, and for those who want to leave, let them go. Only want fully committed players. And I've said that about Hearts as well. For me, it's exactly the same thing. I want players to fight for the shirt. I want players who want to basically die for the shirt. And at times I don't see that enough from some Hearts players. But Celtic, for me, they've got a team that they want to fight, they want to battle. And the thing is, Celtic know, right? Celtic can play great football. Celtic can play, I'm not going to say they don't play pro football, but Celtic can play great football. Celtic can play not that well and still know that they've got quality to win the game. And that's something that a lot of teams in the Scottish League they're not consistent enough. Celtic are consistent. Other teams in Scotland just aren't that. Like Hearts could beat Celtic next week, then lose to St Mirren the week after. That's just the way it goes. But Celtic are just a very, very strong side. And I think they will trebles, I'm going to be honest. They could next season, hopefully they don't. Hopefully Hearts win something next season. The Scottish Cup will be nice, win a 4th one. But yeah, Celtic are in the final. We will probably do a live show after the Scottish Cup final on the 3rd of June. We'll talk to you about that more near the time, but we will be back on next Friday. Guys, thank you again for your comments. I say this every week, but it is massively, massively important that we get folk that watch the show and like the show. And it is always great to see your comments. Again, we do this. We don't get paid for this. We do it because me in particular, love talking about sport. It's been great to do the show again today. We are back on Friday from 5 to 7. Back on again next Sunday from 3 to 5. Hopefully Michael, because my voice is going pretty quickly. But thank you again for all your comments. Thank you all for watching here on the Live and Independence Live. Again, if you haven't seen the show, you can watch it back on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, because we're all over there. I post the links pretty much regularly, so please don't get bored. My Twitter handle, if you want to see it, is at the bottom of the screen there as well. If you're on Twitter, you can follow me on that. But we will be back again, as I say, next Friday from 5 till 7 as we build up to the dramatic final day in the Championship. Queen's Park against Dundee going right to the wire, and the relegation battle. And also the final 5 fixtures in the Scottish Premiership are next week. So we shall see you next week, 5 o'clock, sorry. Don't be late. Bye-bye.